What's up, everybody, and welcome back into the Play the Fight Song College Football Show. Big time week. It is week one, the full slate, Thursday through Sunday. We are going to be watching college
Thursday
football.
through Monday.
Oh, Monday.
We're back!
And the extra day. Throw it in the extra day, baby. But yeah, Sunday's got a good matchup as well, which we will cover tonight. But there is a ton of games, so we're not going to get to them all. I believe we have 6 main ones that we're going to preview. And if you have any other games that you want us to at least briefly mention, I'm sure we can put something together for any of the games you want to drop in the comments. If you're here and it's the start of the video, hit the like button. It helps a ton. So do that now. Hit the subscribe button. It's just off to the side. And while we have you, before I go to the guys and talk to them, let's talk about No Rivals, shopnorivals.com. They're a great partner of ours. You can use the code PTFS at checkout for free shipping on any of your uniquely styled caps. North Texas Fire from Reese in the corner. I'm wearing the SMU vintage hat. They just dropped the Game Day collection, which is a beautiful collection of hats. I believe Reese and I will be receiving one here shortly. Yeah, we need those. That's a good look. So check it out today. Shout out No Rivals. Jake, awfully quiet. How we doing? You ready to talk week one ball?
Just letting you start us off with a bang, man. Appreciate everybody jumping together here. It's been a long time coming. I know that we had a little bit of an appetizer last week, 4 awesome games. And who said that week 0 was boring, by the way? Yep. Casuals continues to just be casuals. But yeah, we're ready to go, man. There's like Thursday night, 5 o'clock. You know more. My TV's going. The 2 TV setups are back.
Yeah, that's exactly what we need in the world is more college football, more days. And then all of a sudden we'll get into this range of Tuesday college football. It's just even more beautiful. Reese, what about you? Ready to break down week 1 tonight? College football's officially here. Q's starting up.
Yeah, if all of you, Syracuse, we're going to talk about that later. But if all you girls out there are seeing videos of, the boys watching football during weddings now, it's part of it. It happens. There was an absolute banger this weekend. We did witness Georgia Tech nailing through the uprights as we were at one. So it was a good time.
As the bride was coming down the aisle.
Walking down the aisle. We had like Hallelujah playing. It was like the Titanic. It was an all-time moment. You'll never forget that one. But
it was great. I don't know what the song was playing. Not a church guy. Reese is. I'm sure he can drop the name, but it was it just built up.
The amount of times Parks asked me just the randomest, dumbest things while we were in mass. It was so good. It was a good time.
It's not dumb if you have no idea. If I took you
curious.
If I took you to a Nebraska game, you wouldn't know any of the chants, but I'd be like, these are dumb questions. I've been to 100 of these. So don't throw that on me, sir. I just had never been there before. Nice church, beautiful wedding. The one guy we do not have tonight, JP, is not with us tonight. He is off this week. He will be back on next week, and we miss him, and our love is with him, but we are going to break down some college football action tonight. Let's talk about week 0 first. A week where 0 favorites covered the number. I don't know if that's ever happened in the history of week 0. It's only been a few years, but not a single favorite covered the number. That can't happen, Jake. That can't happen. Tell us about week 0. Tell us about your bets, and then we'll go into individually games.
It doesn't. It needs to happen. That's exactly how week 0 should be.
No.
Only if you're taking Hawaii do we care.
The unpredictable. The unpredictable is what you get in week 0. As far as my own bets are concerned, I went 2-1. That's with a New Mexico spread. When I took it too early on Tuesday, I had 4 points less than what most people got it at. The under in Florida State, Georgia Tech hit. And then unfortunately, my Rainbow Warriors just couldn't put 4 quarters together. Maybe they're more so probably thinking about UCLA coming to town. I'm not really sure. Delaware State they came to fight, man.
Yeah, the delayed flight. The delayed, the missed flight. It sparked an energy that Delaware State has not had in a while.
A win in itself, though, was me being able to find the game on my phone Saturday night. I know very seldom people had the game going on, so people were kind of crowding by my table at the bar at 12:30 in the morning. But I knew it was a loser, but it was just great to kind of watch my bet be a dud at 12:30 at night on week 0.
Two parts of the Hawaii game. One, Spectrum Sports. I know you found a stream, Jake, but do you know what Spectrum Sports charges you to try and buy a game?
Well, it was Spectrum who broadcasted it, but you could have found it on the Team One Sports app. Like Hawaii posted an actual like directions on how to find the game, like the Hawaii football account did.
Who else is doing that for you people?
And he didn't send it to us. Let's throw that out there, Reese. I looked at Spectrum Sports. They asked for $80 to watch Delaware State and Hawaii. Get the fuck out of here, man.
Is that a month or a year?
No, it was the game. It's a single game. The whole year was like $4.50.
I bet that would have been the highest ticket price last Saturday.
Probably.
Oh, yeah. I would have been sitting on the sideline for $80 in Honolulu. But that was a fun game. Reese, what about you? What did you think about the games in general? No favorites cover. That's not great.
Well, I mean, we were in the bar watching that Montana State, New Mexico game, and it was real wild to see New Mexico go up to that 17 at the start, but then, that FCS, they were just a solid football team, come back to win that game. That SMU comeback was awesome too. They were down, I forget how many in the fourth quarter, and they 14. Came back to one with like 8 minutes left or whatever. That was impressive to see because that was a team that, I mean, a lot of people were high on early in the year. They didn't get the, guys in the portal to be that confident, like they were going to be an ACC contender, but still cool to see like that team come back and be able to do what they did. And then obviously everybody knows about the Georgia Tech Florida State team. Now I think it says, I still don't know if Georgia Tech is still that team this year, but now I think they're going to play spoiler for more. But I think we kind of knew like DJU, man, does he really elevate a team that much? Like that's why I didn't have them in my, conference title over there. It's a 12-team playoff. So, they're kind of still in it somehow. They can find a way to play good. But I think that one just says a lot about that team in general because that defense also did not come out to play then too. Haynes King had a great game. So.
Yeah, that was a weirdly paced game. You felt like it started so fast. Florida State drives down the field, scores instantly, scores on the swinging gate. Georgia Tech answers, and then all of a sudden it just kind of went stagnant, slow. But let's dive into that game and go a little bit more in depth with everybody's thoughts. Georgia Tech kicks a 44-yard game-winning field goal in week 0 to beat top 10 Florida State. DJU 19 for 27, 193 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Haynes King, 11 for 16, 146 yards, no touchdown, no interception. So not a quarterback-driven day, but enough to get the job done if you're Georgia Tech and Brent Key. Jake, what did you take away from this game, and what did you think about it?
Yeah, the new rule made it really feel like a kind of an NFL-style game, right? Like possessions were seldom, and every possession was critical. Didn't they say like there was only like 7 possessions between both teams? I don't know if that was the second half or where I kind of heard that stat, but it did seem slow and methodical. But at the same time, we knew that both teams were going to run the football to have success on offense for either side, quite frankly. But it's just funny because it's the same people that love the 12-team playoff are now somehow trashing Florida State and how they don't even have a shot of getting in a 12-team playoff before week 1 even occurs. Just kind of ironic how we're already starting to talk about that. I think the season is still wide open for them. Yes, it was a conference game. And honestly, they got their work cut out for them on Monday night with Boston College coming to town with Castellanos, who's mobile. But if they really want to turn this thing around, I think the defensive line needs to be better. That we were very much high on that group. I think a lot of people were going into before the season, and they got ran all over. But Jamal Haynes, shout out to him, Georgia Tech running back, just a stud, man. I really like him. And Haynes King, like you said, your stat line was what, 11 for 16, something really short. Yep. But man, like 3 or 4 of those 11 completions were just guts. Like, I mean, he made some plays that are like, damn, that's the Haynes King we know can be great, but we also know that there's another version of Haynes King that's probably coming somewhere down the road.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I took away from it as well. Is Haynes King, we talked about one of the main keys being taking care of the ball. He didn't throw any picks. That was the main key for us for Georgia Tech to find success. I told you to marinate on the plus 340 money line. Hopefully you listened to me, let it deep marinate, and then you're up some money.
You need to hold on to this like Georgia Tech thing that
they're picking
really
up.
Claiming. You need to hold on to that. Don't let the casuals jump on the train before you kind of leave the station. So
I picked them to go bowl eligible last year, and here they are. Just keep beating ranked teams, getting a 4-star recruit today. Ramblin' Wreck's on its way. I don't know how they don't recruit that well all the time in Atlanta, to be honest. Reese, I know you gave your brief thoughts on it. Any more thoughts on Georgia Tech upsetting Florida State?
No, the nice part you talk about too, when we were watching that game, that fourth quarter drive, like he only completed 11 throws. But on that last drive, when they went and won the game, I think he made 2 throws on third down. He made one where he had to step up in the pocket where he almost got drilled. And he made a great throw on like a 3rd and 14 or 3rd and 12 or whatever it was. So like he has it in him. Yeah. And if he's able to do that, especially with the way he runs the ball as well too, Georgia Tech's gonna be a problem for people this year.
All right, there was the main action from the weekend in Georgia Tech and Florida State. Let's move down to SMU. I know Reese gave his thoughts already, but SMU comes back and beats Nevada 29-24. SMU is a 27.5-point favorite most of the time. Obviously, they do not even come close to covering that number. They escape Nevada with a win. Preston Stone, 17 for 30, 254 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. He didn't even start that game. But the more impressive side was Brendan Lewis from Nevada, 14 for 26 for 132 yards and 2 scores. And he also was their leading rusher in the game. LJ Johnson Jr. was super stagnant for SMU, 9 rushes for 19 yards. And Nevada did a really good job and just let this get away. Like that team, if they would have won that game, they would have earned it. But they just let it slip through their fingers. Jake, what did you think on this game?
Well, let's go to the other side. As a de facto Colorado State fan, you got to be a little concerned that maybe your trip to Reno might not be as given of a win as we thought maybe a week ago. I think Jeff Cho's got a really good thing going. Granted, let's not overreact over week 0 and week 1. We know that every year, but even them not winning the football game, that's a tough team. Like they look like they can be pesky this year in the Mountain West. I'm not sure about like 6 wins in a bowl game, but they're probably going to catch somebody that they're not supposed to. I thought Lewis played pretty well. Let's wait and see what Chubba Purdy does when he comes back. The Dollar kid at running back was solid to me. And the SMU side, like I said, not going to overreact to it. We knew that Jennings and Stone were both going to play, but it's clear that Stone looks ready to go as the full-time guy. I would assume just absolute, again, like Haynes King, just guts down the last a couple possessions to really seal the deal. And that last drive was great. I mean, imagine traveling to Reno on week 0. It's easy to look back and say it was so obvious, but the weather was weird. So SMU coming out, you won the game. I think that's all that matters at that point. Yep. It was just a weird game, weird environment all around, and you still got a victory.
I agree. It's important to not overreact. I mean, I look back to, and I know JP had mentioned it in the preview for last week, Northwestern, Nebraska, and Ireland. And Northwestern beats Nebraska, and you're kind of like, man, is this going to be one of those Pat Fitzgerald's team? And then that team didn't win a single game the rest of the year. Never won a game in America.
They're undefeated in Ireland, didn't win a game in America.
Yeah, so let's not overreact on SMU. They're still a very good team. Preston Stone didn't even start that game. So you saw what that offense kind of turned into, got a couple of steps forward after he came in. Reese, you gave some thoughts, but any more to add on to this game to finalize week 0?
Not really.
Fair enough. Okay, I like that.
If you're a Lobos fan, are you just kicking yourself on this Tuesday still? Or are you just still down in the dumps after
I don't think they have much expectations, so I don't think.
I will tell the story.
I will say, if you're over better of the 1.5 New Mexico, you're kicking yourself still.
If you took the 1.5 over on New Mexico, first of all, seek help. Second of all, this is a quick story, but Jake was on stage giving a speech at the wedding we were at. I thought it'd be a funny prank to maybe shoot him a call and be like, dude, Montana State, pick 6, they covered, because he was all up in my ear. What? New Mexico was up 30 points to 20 points at one point. I mean, they were rolling, and then all of a sudden it crumbled apart. Go ahead, Jake.
I had the points, not the money line. And you said would be a funny prank. No, you need to let everybody know. You did call me when I was up on stage to tell me that New Mexico should have thrown a pick 6 not to cover. So it was not a funny prank.
At Mass, I let Schaefer know that Georgia Tech just won too.
Yes, as he was taking communion, just for the record. I mean,
Georgia Tech
took the, I don't know what you call it. This might get us canceled, but took the chip, turned around and said, Georgia Tech. That's a football guy, if I've ever seen one.
You know the sicko in me, when I hear Reese whisper over my shoulder, Georgia Tech, I automatically assume my under hit. If Georgia Tech's winning, my under's hitting easily. I was like, sick. Okay, let's go.
Some things are just more important than football. Weddings, not one of them. They're just not one of them. I'll tell you that right now. But all right. There is week 0. let's move down the line. Let's go to week 1. We got a ton of games to preview. Let's start Thursday night. This one's not going to YouTube, so if you're watching it live right now, this is the time you're going to hear it. Let's break down North Dakota State and Colorado. Obviously, there's going to be a ton of eyes on this one. Can North Dakota State play their brand of ball and beat the Buffs and stop the typing for a week? Or what's going to happen in this game? Jake, give us your thoughts.
Stop the typing. If Colorado wins by 10 or loses by 10, there's going to be mass amounts of typing. People are going to overreact.
Yeah, but people only hate the
way.
typing that's telling you Colorado's good. If it's typing telling you, told you, I think that's a happier place to be on Twitter. For the college football world, that is.
Yeah, this is from last I saw this morning, top 3 most bet game of the weekend. Colorado's just spread in general is one of the more popular plays of the weekend as far as tickets are concerned. So the general public thinks Colorado is going to roll this game. And I don't necessarily disagree. North Dakota State's last FBS game we saw was a couple of years ago against a very mediocre Arizona team. They lost that game traveling down to Tucson by 3. If North Dakota State wants to come out and play like the North Dakota State I think we're all accustomed to, it's going to be on the ground. It's going to be the run game. It's going to be chewing clock, just like Georgia Tech did against Florida State and Ireland. Use this new rule to your advantage. I think it's going to take a couple of weeks for teams to really catch up on this stuff. So keep the ball out of Shedeur Sanders' hands. Because
tough combo.
It was a tough combo. To be quite frank, what I'm willing to see and I'm interested in seeing is how much pressure can North Dakota State get on Colorado, because that was the biggest issue for this team last year. The offensive line depth. Shedeur, we know the stat. He was sacked, like 52 times or something crazy.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. And if we see a team, North Dakota State's good, guys. They're solid. But they obviously everybody knows they're not what they used to be. They're not a perennial power that wins back-to-back national championships at the FCS level. So if I see North Dakota State go out there and really create havoc and put pressure on Colorado with or without getting a win, that's a concern to me going down the road. So that's just something I'm looking out for Thursday night. But the weapons, man, if I had to pick a side, North Dakota State's got a new coach, and the wide receivers for Colorado are just bountiful. Like it's plentiful. So I'm not sure if North Dakota State can really keep up in that aspect, but I'm just going to enjoy this one because this is just so many different factors. I think just you got to watch.
Yeah, if Shedeur gets protection, I feel like you kind of get the story or idea of what you're going to get from him as a player. Like he's going to stand back there. He's going to extend the plays out and make plays. But the offensive line was so bad for them last year that it's tough to even think that a half a step forward would make him twice the player he is now. As JT chimes in and says he loves Colorado minus the 10. Hurts my heart with the banners behind me, but you're probably not wrong. Looking at North Dakota State, though, you bring it fifth-year quarterback Cam Miller still in the mix, completed 72% of his passes last year for over 3,300 yards. This guy's been around college football for a long time. You got to think that North Dakota State culture is still probably going to be there. But I agree, Jake. I don't think this is the same program that we saw win 4 straight FCS national titles. So I do think Colorado edges this one out. I won't give my score yet until we go round table style. But North Dakota, this is interesting just because it's Colorado and they're master marketers. I think if this was any other coach and they're in the same situation coming off a 4-8 year, this would not be leading off your Thursday night primetime on ESPN. Reese, your thoughts?
Yep.
Yeah, I think if North Dakota State does want to have a chance, I think you guys said it perfectly. They got to make it ugly. I think they can maintain that for a half. I don't know if you can keep this offense and Shedeur Sanders down for an entire game. So I think 10. I don't think North Dakota State can cover that number. I think Colorado at some point they're going to have a chance to have bigger plays. I don't think North Dakota State's going to have, plays of 25, 30 plus yards. They're going to have kind of just run it down your throat if they're going to have drives put together. But I think Colorado can just go out there, and if they want to have a big explosive play, a big, 80-yard bomb or whatever, I think they have a better chance of doing that.
Yeah, and I don't think one thing that's not mentioned enough with Colorado is you obviously hear about the player overhauls, in and out in the transfer portal. How about this coordinator overhaul? How about all the names that Dion brought in the offseason? Warren Sapp, you lose Sean Lewis to SDSU. Like, there's going to be a little bit of a new look. Like, I think we may always think Colorado is going to be year to year with how they utilize the portal, they're really going to have, a different look. They're probably still going to be fast paced because that's what Dion likes to do, but they maybe will take a step forward in the hopes of what USC does with their coordinator overhaul. But it's interesting to follow this Colorado storyline, especially with Nebraska playing in week 2. So I will definitely be tuned in. All right, roundtable style, Jake, give us your score prediction. Who wins the game and what is the score?
Yeah, it really didn't matter last year in those first 3 games. I mean, they played a team like Nebraska who's got a good defense, put up 38 points. I think this team's going to be healthy and ready to go. I think Parks, they're going to score a lot of points, especially in the beginning of the season. So I like Colorado in this one. Like, I'm thinking 38 to 21. I don't think it's going to be as close as people expect.
Fact check. It was 36, you bastard. And we also
They
turned the
scored 30.
ball over 5 times. So let's not
cough it up, Jeff.
Yes, it was Jeff. Damn you, Jeff. Shout out Arizona State, but let's not go there. Come on. It's a new year. It's a new year.
Come on.
Quit living in the past. If anybody
Dylan
should know
Raiola, ever
that,
heard
it
of
should
him?
be me. So yeah, you ever heard of Dylan Raiola? You're about to meet him, UTEP.
Hasn't played a
But, all
snap
right.
yet.
That is Jake's. Reese, what do you got for a score? Who wins it, and what is the score?
Give me Colorado 34-13.
All right, I can see that. That's a
Killing them.
lot of trust in the Colorado
Killing
defense. That'd be a huge step forward for them. I give me Colorado 31-24. I think North Dakota State plays enough brand of ball here to slow the game down, run the clock, utilize kind of that NFL style, which Jake was talking about. But I do think there's too much offensive firepower, and it's going to be too big of a spotlight, honestly. Like, I don't know if North Dakota State, even in national titles, has played in a spotlight that they're about to. Thursday night, you're in the prime time, like literally in the prime time. Shout out Prime.
Is this going on the graphic? The board?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe this should. I don't know.
Okay,
JP will have to
so
double
All
check
these
that when we
should
get
be
done.
okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, might as well. But all right, that is game 1. Let's move down the line. Let's go to game 2. Before we talk about that game, though, I do want to tell you to go check out our fan perspectives live on our YouTube right now. Jake did one for Iowa State versus North Dakota. I did one for Nebraska versus UTEP, and JP's just posted today was North Dakota and not Illinois State and Iowa. Thank you, Jake. But check those out. We dive into the opponents. So if you don't know what UTEP, Illinois State, or North Dakota are going to look like, give them a listen because it's very important stuff. We know what we're talking about. So check those out right after the show tonight. Now let's go to the next game. And this is one that a lot of people are going to have their eyes on as well. It's one of the first games to kick off on Saturday, and that is Clemson and Georgia in Atlanta. It's a neutral site game, kind of, but I assume most of this crowd will be made up of the Dogs in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. 11 a.m. on Saturday morning. Georgia is a 13.5-point favorite. I'm sure it's a little different now. Any movement on that line, Reese or Jake?
I'll check, but I'm pretty sure it's 13 or 14. 13.5 or 14.
Okay, 13.5 is what I saw on there. So let's break this one down. Jake, what is your take on the Dogs and the Tigers?
Yeah, have we kind of forgotten over the offseason? We've been talking about so many different things this college football offseason because so many things have been going on. But remember, one of the big talking points used to be like the pressure on Garrett Riley and Cade Klubnik going into this season.
Yes,
they're tested early, man. Like, this is a year where I don't think Dabo Swinney's got necessarily a choice. He needs to win 10 games. Everybody knows about the transfer portal. I think he needs to compete again for an ACC title, and they need to get back to that 10, 11 win mark in order for him to really realize maybe he needs to make some change and adjust to the new world of college football. But it starts with his quarterback and an offensive coordinator who had a lot of hype going into last season and just frankly kind of disappointed, especially in week 1. Remember that Duke was like 24-7, and they just had bad turnovers that cost them that game. Well, Mike Elko's defense at Duke was good, but newsflash, it's not Georgia. It's not this Georgia team that you're going to be seeing on Saturday. And on the other side of the ball, how does Clemson's new faces on defense? They replaced a lot of really good players defensively. They're going up against a Georgia offense, which I think personally is better than the defense this year. This was a top 5 offense in college football last year, returning a lot, adds ETN, adds Ben Urasek, good receivers, has multiple NFL type of offensive linemen. Clemson's defense has its hands full more than I think maybe even the offense does. I would say a matchup to watch would be Clemson's wide receivers versus Georgia's young but really talented corners. That's where the heat was last year. Not necessarily on Klubnik and Riley. It was the receivers were also at blame for not being able to create separation or to create any plays for Klubnik. So I want to see if this offense has changed for Clemson, if they stand any sort of a chance in Atlanta.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head right there. I put as my main note here is, can Garrett Riley finally open it up and recreate the spark that he got him that job in the first place, to be honest with you? If he does, I think Phil Maffa is going to be the main key to center that around. Like, they're going to have to slow the game down to be competitive here, because we are talking about an uber talented Georgia team who we saw what they did to Florida State last year. Georgia's 8-0 against the ACC in their last matchups against them. I don't think anything wavers here. I think Carson Beck has a lot of haters to prove wrong out there. I feel like every list we put out during the offseason of Heisman candidates, top 5 quarterbacks in college football, anytime Carson Beck was anywhere, there was somebody in there saying he doesn't belong. So this is a big prove-it game for him. And if you're Dabo, I think you're damn right. You got to stay competitive at least within this game, because you're turning down transfers left and right saying they're not good enough to play for your program, focusing on high school recruits. Well, you're about to find what both transfers and high school recruits can do to a team, and you might need to utilize both. Reese, thoughts on Clemson and Georgia?
Yeah, I think when you look at it, it's just, I can't believe how far it's really, Clemson has changed in the last how many years. I mean, if this game was 10 years ago or whatever, like, this is, Clemson's going to have this spread like in favor of them, and they just haven't been able to change it. And also, Garrett Riley really hasn't had much success against Georgia, if we remember that game. So I think it's obviously the offenses are a little bit different, but I think when you're looking at Georgia and this game, also you're only going down to Atlanta, so it's going to be a lot differently for this team, having that kind of that home field advantage, whatever you're going to have there. But I just don't think that Clemson's going to have that much going for them. Kind of like when we just talked about that North Dakota State game, like they might be able to, I don't know, keep it close in the first half if they're able to do something defensively, kind of schematically, to maybe slow down Carson Beck and those guys. But I just don't see them, and throughout the length of this game, I think does have a whole lot of confidence in that defense to get that many stops, if I'm being honest.
I think this game was what kicked off the 2022 season. Am I correct? It was that 10-3 really ugly matchup.
Yeah.
And that was only that way because the quarterbacks were not good at all on either side of the ball that game. But I think Dabo is a guy that you can just account for to have a really good defense, but it's going to take really elite to stop this Georgia offense. So I'll start off the round table scoring. I'm going to say Georgia wins this one 34-13, and it probably gives it away, but that's my play of the week. I think Georgia minus the 13.5 is easily the number you should take if you're looking at the entire slate. This team's going to roll just like they finished the season last year, and they got a lot to prove, and they're not going to leave anybody on the tracks on their way to the college football playoff. Jake.
Yeah, I think I'm hand in hand with you, Parks. If I had to put a score, I think I'll just tag along with you. 34-13. Last year, their losses: Miami, good defense, 20 points in an overtime loss. NC State, good defense, 17 points. We talked about that Duke game, 7 points. Florida State, 24 points, another overtime loss. So against really good opponents in games they lost, they couldn't cross the 24-point threshold, and that's with some overtime games. Yep. So I don't see them getting higher than 17 points on Saturday, and I really love this Georgia team. I've said it before if you've been listening to us.
Yep, I think we're dead on. Reese, are you tagging along with us, or do you have a different take?
Yeah, ain't no way I'm taking Dabo right now. Give me Georgia. You think I'm going to take Dabo over Kirby Smart right now? This is in 2012 or 2013 more, boys. Come on.
All right, Kirby Smart. What's the score, though?
Let's go Georgia 35-17.
35-17 Georgia. I like that's a lot of touchdowns.
That's cover.
That's a cover. That's an easy.
He's got to give him a cover.
So I'm going to say that's probably, obviously pending JP's pick. That's probably pick of the week, eh?
Well, we don't want to overreact to what we see on Saturday, but don't you guys remember this Georgia team in Atlanta? Remember what they did to that Oregon team with Bo Nix? And that Oregon team ended up being okay, and they dismantled them that first week. So
yeah, that was weird. That was like a crazy dismantling too, wasn't it? Like
42-3.
Oh, yeah, right.
I
was thinking of USC Bama.
Yeah, I thought they almost got to 50 points. I think you're right.
Dan Lanning's been okay since then, though. Maybe
Yep.
it'll help out.
They've had a little bit of bounce back, but all right, that is Clemson and Georgia. We will get JP's numbers on there as well. We are going to have a bet board going around like we did last year, where we will have everybody's logos in line with their pick chart style.
I'm buying a belt this year for whoever wins. That's your Christmas gift.
Let's make a custom one with our logo. That'd be absolutely
Kind of fire.
beautiful.
That goes in the background.
That would be absolutely beautiful. But that goes with our Christmas gifts. We can't all get them though. Only one person.
No, that's your Christmas gift if you win it, or I can just gift myself because that's probably what's going to happen.
What does Dead Last get?
Oh God, I don't know if we need to start dishing out.
Dead Last has to buy everybody's shop right. No Rivals hat.
I know ball, but I don't know if predicting college football is the easiest thing in the world when it comes to having a true punishment. I'd be terrified. But all right, that is Clemson and Georgia. Let's move down the line. Let's go to Morgantown, West Virginia for the matchup between Penn State and the Mountaineers. This one is going to be fun. Can Drew Aller prove the haters wrong, or can Garrett Green prove me wrong? Jake, you're the Big 12 guy. Break this one down.
Yeah, I think if you guys remember last year, going into this season, everybody was higher on Penn State, but the talk with West Virginia was, Brown was going to be fired. This team was going to win 3 or 4 games, whatever that conversation was. Completely different conversation this year. I think a lot of people see this West Virginia team as a top 7 or 8 team in the league, maybe a dark horse coming off a 9-win season. You have your quarterback back in Garrett Green. You have your dynamic duo running back in Donaldson and Jaheim White. On the other side, Penn State also has a good, pretty much little bit of running back duo in themselves in Singleton and Allen. So that's a really fun matchup for that to watch if you're going to be paying attention to this one. Morgantown's going to be an absolute hornet's nest. This is top 10 highest ticket prices out of all the games in college football this season, going for like $250, $300 a piece. Everybody's going to want to be there. That being said, I like Penn State in this one. I like for them to come out and dominate. Reason being, I don't care if it's on the road. They're not playing Michigan. They're not playing Ohio State. Penn State has success against pretty much everybody else. They held Garrett Green to 164 passing yards last year. I anticipate them doing it again. I don't like the receivers for West Virginia at this point. And so that being said, I think they're going to create a lot of pressure. I'm excited to see Abdul Carter play defensive end for them. And I think he's going to create havoc against Garrett Green. If West Virginia wants to keep this close and create some chaos, I think Garrett Green has to rush for over 100 yards. He's got to use his legs.
Is there a team out there in America with a little bit more pep or swag in their step than Penn State going into the 12-team playoff era? You want to get started off on the right foot, head into Morgantown and come away with a win with a pretty highly touted quarterback in the backfield of West Virginia. And I'm not on that train. I think Garrett Green has to prove, one, the college football world to be truthful, and me wrong, because I have said I think he's a little overhyped. I think West Virginia escaped with some of those games last year. They just snuck away to that 9-10 win range, and they really weren't that good of a team. So I'm going to piggyback right on there with you, Jake. I think Penn State, to win this game, though, they need to be a little bit more efficient and effective through the air. And that fan base would agree too. Use transfers like Julian Fleming on the outside, throw some deep balls, let Drew Aller play a little bit. Stop being so restrictive with your new offensive coordinator. I think they can do so. I like Penn State in this one too. Reese, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's also different too. I mean, West Virginia, you talked about last year when Neil Brown being on the hot seat. Now they're a team that are dark horses, so I think they're getting a little more attention, a little more respect too. So, so I think that it garners them a little less like kind of leniency, especially when you go up against Penn State, who is a team who's just year in and out as a very good defensive team. And if you're playing, like I said, when they're not playing teams like named Ohio State and Michigan, they have pretty good success on them. So I really don't think that Penn State, I mean, defense, they're going to be fine. It's also like, what is Drew Aller, like you just mentioned? Are they going to let him throw the ball a little bit? If he just doesn't turn the ball over with the backfield they have, I don't think this game could get away from him. I think West Virginia has to hope for multiple turnovers. They got to hope for not just some picks, but some fumbles. They got to hope for multiple options because I'm not sure if that defense is going to be able to give up that many points. So I lean Penn State in this one as well too.
There is a little part of me, and this is more the fan part of the game, that kind of wants West Virginia to win this game just so I can get and view the clip consistently of Country Roads being sung. Because I agree, Jake, it's going to be a nut house. It's much watch TV on Fox. That's an 11 a.m. game as well. So you got to get the 2 TVs action going early on Saturday. And if you don't, you're doing it wrong anyway. But that is Penn State and West Virginia. Let's go scores. Jake, give us yours.
Yeah, look for Julian Fleming to make a big impact like Keandre Lambert-Smith did in the game last year. I like 24-10. I think it's going to be low scoring. But I think they're going to cover 24-10 Penn State.
I think you are on the right track. My one threat that I kind of pose to myself is sometimes I'll say so confidently that a team's going to win, but don't take that as they're going to cover, because I have Penn State winning this one 23-17, not a cover, but in a low scoring battle. And I just think it's a tough place to play. So they may not put up 40, but they're still going to come away with the win, which the only thing that matters if you're traveling to a game like this. Reese, your score.
Boys, the honorable mention me for this was going to be my under. I'm going to take Penn State to still win this game. I think I like just I think 23, like 13, 23, 10. Do you guys know what the over under for this game is set at?
It's got to be low. 44 probably.
It was 38-14
51
last year.
Yeah, 51. We all picked a score that's like in the 30s. Like I think this is like a fun under. I think I'm going to take, because I don't think that this Penn State team is going to go. They're going to go score 20, 28, 30 points. Like, and then West Virginia's going to keep up with them. I don't think that. I don't think this game maybe gets past like 42, 43.
I like that. That's a good take there. I didn't even think about that. That is pretty high. I didn't know that
I saw that. I'm like, that high? Really? Like, it's week 1.
All right. That's absolutely shocking.
How about like last year? Take that first half under. If you guys remember right, wasn't it like 10-7 in the first half, and West Virginia was putting up a fight and then got a little out of control in the second half for a little first half under for you.
Yeah, it's a messy game, and things can happen in a messy way in Morgantown. So that will be an absolute barn burner to watch. So make sure you got that on your TV. But that is Penn State and West Virginia. Let's keep it moving down. This is one that I've seen talked about a ton this week. Let's talk about Miami playing at the Florida Gators. Miami is our 16th ranked team in our Play the Fight Song top 25. They are visiting the Swamp in an absolute tough atmosphere. They are a 2.5-point favorite live, I believe, but I saw it at 3 as well. Jake, tell us about this game.
Yeah, if the Florida defense that was playing at the end of the year last year shows up in this week 1 matchup, it will get ugly and it'll get out of control. The good news is the secondary is pretty much brand new. I think the defensive line's going to be able to hold their own. I think it's going to be better. And I think the Swamp is going to be, for lack of a better term, a swampy mess Saturday. It's going to be hot. Granted, you're playing an in-state team as well. So really, what does that matter? I don't know, but we know that the Swamp is one of the tougher places to play. And I think both of these teams have a lot to prove going into this matchup. I'm sure that we will overreact whatever team ends up being on the losing side on our next podcast next Tuesday or Wednesday. But that being said, we've raved about, or at least personally we've raved about Miami's offensive and defensive line, the line of scrimmage. It's got to prove it on Saturday. Ruben Bain Jr., defensive end for Miami. I want to see you get after Graham Mertz. Here's a question I posed in my notes. Are we sure this isn't the biggest game that Cam Ward's played in his college career? Going back and thinking of some matchups, I know that they've played in some bigger games. I remember Wisconsin being a primetime game for Washington State.
Yeah, you might have to stat check me. I do think they played in like a 4-0 and 4-0 Oregon-Washington State matchup and got blasted.
I think wasn't Oregon State the game they had a big one last year?
I don't remember. But you're probably right. It's probably top 2 for sure, if not 3.
It feels like to me, the casual college football fan knows who Cam Ward is, but like the really like people who watch one game a week, they're not going to know who Cam Ward is, I don't think. And this is a good opportunity to showcase it. I just don't know what we're going to get. I think Graham Mertz could play better than Cam Ward on Saturday if things go right for him, if the run game works for him. But I love the weapons on Miami. I'm higher on them this year. They might make me put a pie in my face next week, but I really like Miami in this game. I think they're a legit team this year.
2 questions. 1, are you putting that on the table? Like, if they lose, will you put pie in your face?
An actual pie in my face.
I mean, Village Inn right down the road.
Ty Benson can do it for you. We'll get time here.
Live, maybe, or at least a clip. I mean, you threw it out there. I'm just trying to capitalize off of your words. Okay, I like that. I think the one question I posed, and this was kind of taking a second look at Miami, this is a second-tier college football skill position all-star team. I think both Cam Ward, Damian Martinez, and Xavier Restrepo are all that tier 2, like exactly like you said, where A casual would know who they are, but if you were a one-game watcher, you wouldn't know who Damian Martinez is. You wouldn't know who Xavier Restrepo is. So can those guys be enough to roll into one of the tougher environments in the SEC and the country in the swamp? And the Florida fans know this is a huge opportunity to, one, build off of a season and a schedule that everybody tells you you're going to lose 7 games, 8 games. If you get this game, all of a sudden that conversation flips to, wow, who are they going to take down next? Is this team for real? Can they blow the 5.5 out of the water? Because there's so much hype going around this Miami squad that it's just setting Florida up for success. I think if you look at Florida, you got to force some turnovers. Cam Ward's got him in his back pocket. He's thrown a ton of picks before in his career. Can you force turnovers and all of a sudden get into that mode where Graham Mertz can take over? I also think Graham Mertz is probably one of the better transfers we've seen since the portal became a thing without saying anything. Like, Florida wasn't blow me away last year, but Mertz completed 72% of his passes and only threw 3 picks the entire season. So I don't believe he gets enough love. I think Florida can do this weekend. I really do, without giving away my score prediction, but I think it's going to be closer than people think. And I don't think Miami is going to be hindered by a week 1 loss at Florida. Like, I still think they can be what we thought they were going to be with losing this game, which is a plus note for Miami fans. But Reese, what do you think on this game?
Well, I think the big thing we mentioned too, like Florida had that running back injury, Montreal Johnson. I believe that's the game. The guy is still injured. So like that's gonna hurt. Like if they can't get a solid run game going, like that's gonna put a lot of pressure on Graham Mertz. And like JP, asked that question, like if this Miami secondary is legit, then this can be one of the top 3 defense in the ACC. And if they are, then I think they have a clear shot to be in the playoff at the end of the year. But I think too, like you just mentioned, all those guys, the second tier all-stars for Miami. I just think with that injury for that Florida offense, I think that Miami offense is going to be able to outlast them more. As long as Cam Ward does not turn that ball over and we see bad Cam Ward, if we're going to see average or good Cam Ward, I just think this offense is going to be just a little bit more successful. I mean, going into the swamp too, it's probably the most hostile place he's played in. I mean, I believe they went to Camp Randall, but I would argue that maybe, the swamp's a little more hostile than that place. But I like Miami in this spot, whether it being the road game. You did talk about too, like, the loser of this game, I think, is going to have a lot of toxicity surrounding that program, especially with it being week 1. But I mean, if Miami loses this game week 1, they're still kind of have a chance for the season. Game. Well, I'm sorry, sorry. But it's like if they lose this game, go ahead.
It's not a conference game, so I'm saying like they could still definitely win the ACC. Like I don't think that'll change my opinion.
And you wouldn't even view, as long as they're competitive and in the game and at least showing a little life. Like, you're not even going to get hate from the college football world. Rolling into the swamp, I know Florida's had the downside turns this offseason, talking about they're not going to win 5 games because their schedule. That's great. It's still Florida. Like, it's not like you're rolling out and playing Boston College.
They're not playing. They're not open up at Rice Eccles this year, where weird stuff happens. They do get open up at home.
Absolutely. So we'll see if Florida can take advantage. Let's go score predictions. Jake, who you got winning this one?
I'm going Miami. I just think that
cover the number.
We might as well, it's if it's 3, we'll give them like 30-24. I mean, this game has the opportunity to be pretty hilarious. You have the undisciplined coaching style of Billy Napier. We saw how bad that team made mistakes in the Utah game last year when they went to Salt Lake City. And then you never know what you're going to get out of a Mario Cristobal game plan. So this game could be pretty funny. I'm going to go with the team that I think is more talented right now, and it's Miami. So,
all right. So Miami off the board, pick 1. I'll go next. And I'm glad you mentioned the Mario Cristobal coaching thing, because I haven't seen enough from him yet to tell me he can go win on the road at a place like Florida. So, not without giving too much away, I'm taking Florida to win this one 34-31. I think they can get it done. Ooh. I think you're asking too many pieces to fit into this offensive scheme, which hasn't impressed me much anyway. I mean, Tyler Van Dyke turned the ball over X amount of times within this offense. I think Florida can get this done. I really do. I'm going to take in Florida to win this one at home, 34-31, because of the home field advantage and because Cristobal needs to show it and prove me wrong. Reese.
Parks is a big fan of Tom Petty, apparently. I'm still going to take my.
You are too. Wait a second.
No, I am. But I'm saying in this one, I don't think Tom Petty's going to have enough going for him. The fans are going to be up, but I'm going to take Miami. I'm thinking 27-20. I think Miami wins and they'll cover the number. I just don't know if 34-31. I just think that's a lot of points for like this early in the year, especially for like when we just don't really know what teams are going to be like 100%. I just don't know if it'll be that high scoring.
Gonna be messy. 34-31. Florida's gonna win it. Book it. Book it. I don't know what JP's is. You'll check his on the board, but that is Miami at Florida. That one's gonna be a fun one. 2:30 on ABC. So then now we are on the second time slot going through things. We're in the 2:30 time slot. Now let's move one more down. Let's talk 6:30, where College Game Day is. College Station, Notre Dame at Texas A&M. Notre Dame is ranked 6th in the Play the Fight song top 25, and Texas A&M is at 21. So a top 25 matchup to lead off College Game Day this year in Kyle Field. Texas A&M is a live 3-point favorite. Jake, tell us your thoughts on this matchup.
Yeah, de facto Notre Dame fan here. I think the Irish could be in some trouble on Saturday.
And the reason Notre Dame is 6th in our poll, the sole reason Notre Dame is 6th in the Play the Fight song poll. Just
hey, we ride together, we die together. Play the fight song for life.
I'll get to my pick portion later, but it really comes down to Nick Scorton versus the freshman left tackle Anthony Knapp. Notre Dame is starting 3 sophomores and 2 freshmen on the offensive line. That's concerning. Shamar Turner, one of the better defensive tackles in the SEC. I just said Nick Scorton's name, one of the best edge rushers in the country. Notre Dame and Riley Leonard will have their hands full at College Station on Saturday. Riley Leonard's he's gonna have to create opportunity. If this were Sam Hartman and being Notre Dame in this spot, I would be concerned. I would be really concerned. But I feel like I have a little more comfort knowing that Riley Leonard can create plays with his legs. And that's what could be ultimately the difference in this Notre Dame offense this year. We already talked about Mike Denbrock being the offensive coordinator last week. Maybe he gets the ball out of Leonard's hands fast enough to where they don't need to rely on this really young offensive line. I'm sure he knows that. But I honestly think this could be a low-scoring game. 2 really good defenses. You know what you're going to get out of a Mike Elko defense. Notre Dame's defense has studs all across the board. And on the other side, A&M loses their starting running back. What do we get out of Connor Wegman? They lost some of their good receivers through the portal, like Evan Stewart. I think there's questions on both offenses in this game versus 2 really good defenses. So this one's going to be just a bare knuckle fight, and it's going to be an awesome one as a de facto Notre Dame fan.
I will say this is the one that had me the most quandaried out of the ones we're previewing, where I was like, I really can see either team playing the style I think the team that's going to win will play. And because they both kind of fit that mold. Like Marcus Freeman, it's time. Like this is the way you need to start a season to really prove to people, hey, we are a top 10 team, because you have been preseason ranked in the top 10 many a times as a school and not panned out. This is a perfect time to roll into Kyle Field and get a win. Can they do so? I think you're asking a lot for the Fighting Irish on the defensive side of the ball. Xavier Watts, Ben Morrison need to be absolutely locked down against the talented wide receiver core. And Wakeman was off to an absolutely fire start at A&M last year and didn't kind of cooled off with it when he got banged up. But I do not think Notre Dame can roll into Kyle Field, the number 1 toughest place to play via College Football 25, and get this done. I really don't. I think the line's in an absolutely perfect spot. It's going to be a bare knuckle bar fight, just like Jake said. I just can't see a time and place with Marcus Freeman yet, because he hasn't shown me where he can roll into an environment like this and come out victorious. So I got to be on the other side lightly, Jake, but I could see it going both ways. Reese.
Yeah, how lucky are we, gentlemen, to have this game, week 1? This is going to be a lot of fun.
I am rushing out of Jack's Rice Stadium on Saturday and going to the nearest bar as quick.
Where's the nearest TV?
Stadium.
Yeah, college football has been moving faster, but I feel like some of the Nebraska games they go to are literally 7.5 hours long, because the 2:30 games, I don't think I get home till 10. So I'm going to be phone dialed into this while I'm driving safely, though, very safely. But Reese, continue going on.
I'll just say also too, what a great first test for Mike Elko too. I mean, if this was like year 2 or 3 for him, I'd have a little more faith in this, because it would be his guys that he's brought in and the guy what he's established. But I really like Notre Dame. I mean, you're going on the road is a tough spot, but man, Riley Leonard, like we know this guy's a baller. He was injured last year. He didn't care. He was still playing games.
How about
Like,
his game versus Notre Dame? Like playing injured, just tough as nails.
Like
Great
that's
example.
a dude where if that is your quarterback and your offensive lineman and your wideouts, your running back, see how much that guy cares about that game, like you are going to want to run through a wall for that dude. So like I just think he's a hell of a player. I think that offense is going to rattle around him, and I think that defense on Notre Dame too. Like they did have that injury in the line, so they just kind of going to play a little bit of role, especially when you're going up against Scorton. But I like Notre Dame in this spot. I just think that I got a little bit more faith with. I mean, Freeman's been there, and this is his team. Like I said, it's Elko's first year, and like with the portal being the way it is, it's kind of hard to figure things out with your first year. If it's second or third year, I think I like Elko a little more, but I'm going to take Notre Dame in this spot.
It is Notre Dame's one of their, I would say, 4 losable games on their schedule. So it's incredibly important for them to grab this one, shush the haters, and really start to cement their path into the college football playoff as an at-large bid. I mean, it starts this week because you don't have a tough enough schedule to where if you lose this one and lose a couple of the other spots that are on your schedule, where you can kind of really make that case without being in a conference. I also want to mention, I know Jake said his name, but Nick Scott's got to play a huge role in this. You have the offseason hype. You lead the Big Ten in sacks last year. You got to make a huge impact. Jake, I want to address a question to you is how much more comfortable would you feel with Notre Dame in this spot with Audric Estime back there?
I wouldn't feel as comfortable because with Denbrock, like I said, you'd get Jeremiah Love at running back. You look at the second option that they have. It's more suitable for a team like Texas A&M because if you had Estime, you feel like you want to assert your dominance and try to run the football and slow things down. And with this young offensive line, I just don't think that's going to be an option. So I would rather have a receiver type running back next to Riley Leonard, like Jeremiah Love on Saturday. I don't think he's better than Estime, but given this circumstance, I really don't want to be trying to run into Shamar Turner 30 times a game or Kyle Field. It's just not going to be a recipe for success. I think they need to space it out, get quick releases, and use the running backs out in space rather than trying to ground and pound with the Estime.
That's a fair answer. All right, let's go roundtable scores. Reese, let's lead it off with you this time. Give us your score and who wins the game. Obviously, you're on Notre Dame, but what is the score?
Let's go Notre Dame 24-20.
Damn you. All right, I'm going to flip it. I'm going to go A&M 24-20. So give me A&M to cover the number at home, but just barely. It's in a great spot. Jake, what's your score prediction?
I just realized as I was doing all these, I went against my week 1. I'm already going against my cardinal sin, which is taking road teams. And the last 3 games we've predicted, I've taken the road team. So
you sure have.
17 to 10 Notre Dame. 17-10 Notre Dame.
Ooh, low scoring battle. Trust in the defenses. I like that because I don't think people realize how dominant Notre Dame's defense was last year. They kind of stopped watching after Ohio State, but like even throughout the rest of the year, it's an elite group, man. So you got to expect them to be very similar on that side of the ball. But all right, that is Notre Dame and Texas A&M College game day in week 1. Let's go down the line and do the last one. Let's flip the page to Sunday, the only game, 6:30 in Viva Las Vegas. Let's talk LSU. Let's talk USC. Jake, take us through it.
Yeah, 2 teams trying to establish 2 different identities than a year ago, and both similar in that way, replacing their defensive coordinators. You get 2 new defensive coordinators in D'Anton Lynn and Blake Baker for LSU and USC. Which one can change right away? Because you're going to be going up against, no matter if you're on LSU side or USC. I like both offenses too. Garrett Nussmeier at LSU. I think Miller Moss is going to be really good for USC this year. I've talked highly about USC. Really, it comes down to, like I said, which defense is going to show up. I'm really concerned with the secondary of LSU. That being said, I think LSU also has a more elite passing attack and can outscore USC if need to be. You look at Kyron Lacey, the Daniels kid from Liberty that transferred in. I think it's Thomas is the other guy for LSU. I really like their passing attack again, even though they lost all of their studs. But I think USC's defense is going to be better than LSU's. So where am I really going with this? I think I'm going to take the underdog in this one. I like USC. I think that they're going to fit the Big Ten this year better than what people think.
I hate to hear it, but I understand why you're saying it. My point of view on this game is I think there's just two main questions that we're looking answers for. Can the absolute reload of coordinators at USC finally get it done and finally put the finishing touches on that Alex Grinch mess from last year? And can Brian Kelly finally figure out the secondary at LSU? It's been the same conversation the last 3 years at LSU. I don't like their secondary. All right, they got these transfers. They sucked. So again, we are asking you, Brian Kelly, can you stop the pass? That is what you need to do. That's what you'd set your team back from being a contender in the SEC again. So fix it. That's what they have to do. And if there's going to be a team that's going to exploit your bad defensive backs again, it's going to be a Lincoln Riley style offense. This one is a tight matchup. I can't believe LSU's getting more than a field goal here, but I just think that's from the lingering doubts of the quarterback position of Miller Moss. I'm also high on him. I think the Holiday Bowl was a good showing of what he can be within this system. And I haven't seen Lincoln Riley recruit a bad quarterback yet. So prove me wrong. And then I'll start believing you, ESPN and bet makers everywhere. Reese, your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, we talk about, Miller Moss at Holiday Bowl last year. He's obviously not going to have that same success, but you do get this guy of another full year, with spring ball and fall camps and everything like that. So he's going to definitely be improved. But you still have Lincoln Riley as your head coach. And then when you look at the LSU, I mean, that offensive line is one of the top in the country. And I don't know if that defensive line out of USC is going to be able to get that much pressure on Nussmeier as well, too. So, I mean, what a great way to have, your first season as a quarterback is to have this offensive line, because it's going to help him stay upright, make proper reads, not to mention having Kyron Lacey out wide, too, especially if that USC secondary is not that solidified this early in the year, with the Anton Lynn's plans and everything. So I think LSU can have a good game. Also, my favorite play, if we're going to give these away, this over in this game, it's at 64. That number ain't high enough. These defenses were so bad last year. Who knows if they figured it out this early in the year? This is going to be a fun game to watch, man. Just put it on because there's going to be points.
Yeah, a Vegas spot seems like a really good time to drill an over of like 80 total points in a game. So I like that. I do think we didn't fail to mention, but we do get another chance to watch the most electrifying kick returner actively in college football, and Zachariah Branch. So even watch maybe for a special team score in this spot for USC. Jake, lead off the scoring table. Tell us the final score and who wins the game.
Better be up there.
Yeah, I have to take a home team, right? And I know that this is a neutral site game, but
yeah, tough scene for that.
USC fans, this is in Vegas. That can't be. What's that drive got to be? Is it 5 hours from LA? I have no idea.
I don't even.
I think it's far. I think it's like.
Do you think it is far?
I think it's.
I don't think it's that far.
I'm pretty sure it's far.
Southern California, yeah, it probably is. It probably is far. But either way, you're much capable more of driving than an LSU fan is. I think LSU could potentially travel well, but hypothetically, I'm taking the home team with the points plus 4.5. I might counter you, Reese. I'm not sure if your over is going to be as easy as we think it's going to be. I like USC winning this one. I don't know. I think it's like 30-27. I think it's going to be close, but I think both defenses are going to be a little more improved. But LSU wasn't able to get anybody in the portal on the D line. I think their secondary is still pretty bad. And so I think Lincoln Riley's ready to kind of avenge some of the hater talk he's been really getting harped on in this offseason.
Yeah, it's a prove it spot for me as well for Brian Kelly's group for exactly the reasons I already told you. Give me USC to win this one, Reese. I'm not sure if this is reaching your number, but I had USC 37-28. So both offenses getting theirs. But if you're talking about offensive scheme and scoring, I'll take Lincoln Riley. I can sleep betting on Lincoln Riley all day long. So that's my take on the game. Reese, your final score with that high number you're looking for.
For all the USC fans, I apologize. It's only a 4-hour and 45-minute drive to Las Vegas. So you can make it out there. Just go give them a little help, Give me LSU in this one, 44-38.
I was going to say, I wanted you to lock it up 52-49.
Yeah,
points.
What was the total again?
64.
64-3 USC. That's an over. Just an absolute burner. But all right, that one should be a fun one to watch on Sunday night to close things out into Monday, which there's also a game. Who plays Monday? Is that the Florida State Boston College game?
Yes. Yep.
How about Florida State grabbing a week 0 game and then a Monday night football game? That's a weird way to do things, college football, but I respect it. All right, that wraps it up for our individual game previews for week 1. let's talk about the grand scheme of things. First of all, let's lead it off with the G5. And we had a few discussions about who's going to grab our G5 game of the week. We will have a graphic for this next week. I apologize, I suck. But let's go Power 4 versus G5 first. And I'm going to say we're safe in saying Wyoming at Arizona State should be a good one and a spot where the Sun Devils can lose. Would you not agree, Jake?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a tough matchup. I'm glad Arizona State gets them at home, unlike Texas Tech last year had to go to Laramie. But I think that Wyoming's still good enough to maybe get out of Tempe with a win.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun to watch Sam Levitt in Dillingham's offense. I think that's going to be a big role in whether or not Wyoming can do this. And Wyoming's got, I'm spacing on his name right now. It's Josh Allen Jr. It's Sabota. What's his first name? But I can't, whatever his first name is.
Evan Sabota.
Evan Sabota, 6'5" quarterback. Should be fun, entertaining content to watch there. Let's go to the other one. Reese, I believe we settled on Boise State at Georgia Southern. This should be a fun one. Why did we pick that one, Reese? Why would you pick that one?
Well, I think it's also you're talking about, Malachi wasn't named the starter now. So is there a different look kind of going with Boise State? Like what's really going to go on up there too? Plus, it's also just this was kind of a lot of our pick for the G5 team too. So it's a game you're going to want to watch early and often too, because we know Georgia Southern, don't think they're going to be as great of a team this year, but it's also a chance to see what Boise State's really going to be like and kind of how they're set up for the success for future for this year.
One of our main picks to grab the G5 bid into the playoff. You're building confidence going into play in Eugene, so it's uberly important for Boise State to be successful. Jake, tell me if I'm wrong, but I would just turn around and hand Ashton Jeanty the football 75 times.
I don't think that's a terrible idea because I think Clay Helton on the other side with Georgia Southern's probably going to be able to put up some points. I want to see if Boise State's defense is legit and do it against a common opponent in a Sun Belt team as well.
All right, there is the G5 game of the week. Let's go to our pick of the weeks, which I already gave you mine. It's Georgia. Reese, who is your pick or bet of the week?
My favorite one I already mentioned before. I'm taking this LSU USC over at 64. I just think I don't know if those defenses are going to be that.
Of the week?
That's my pick of the week. Yeah,
okay.
I put it on there. That's my favorite one. I'm sticking to it. Well, I mean, I would say my other one, but I'll wait for Jay to give his. Like I have two honorable mentions too, but I just don't think they're as. Like I want a fun one that's going to be it's week 1 to watch. I don't want to go, play for some unders teaser for a little bit, but I'll let Schaefer give his first.
Team guy, no 1A, 1B. I like that. Yep. Jake.
I would double down Georgia with U Parks, but I'll throw you a second pick. How about over 59.5 in the Colorado State-Texas game? Colorado State's a team that throws it around a ton. They did not run the ball well last year. Texas was susceptible to the pass. I think there's some question marks with their defensive ends. I don't know if they're going to be as good in the SEC as we think they might be. They have Torrey Horton, Braden Fowler, Nicolosi. We just need Colorado State to score like 20 points because I guarantee you Texas's new weapons, they're going to want to instill some confidence on the other side. Like Quinn Ewers with all those new receivers, Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden, Amari Nyblack. They don't have any running back options. They're hurt. So this is a time to kind of mesh and gel with that passing attack before you travel to Ann Arbor next week. So I think there's going to be a lot of passing yards in this game on both sides. So clock's going to be stopped after incompletions, more plays. Give me an over, get to 60 points.
All right. Mine, I'll build off of it. Georgia, I just don't feel as comfortable with Clemson's defense as I did, let's say, in 2022. Like, I feel like we need to see it. It's a team that lost 4 games last year and struggled on offense when they played halfway decent defenses. Now you're playing a dominant defense. I just don't think they're going to score very much, and Georgia's always going to get theirs, and Carson Beck's going to start shutting some lips throughout the college football world of media. All right, let's go to the Dawgs Dog, the underdog of the week. If you're new to the show and this is your first time ever listening to it or watching it, this is our underdog of the week. It's just our cool little name on it. I'm the champ, so I'll start us off. Give me Florida plus the 2.5 at home against Miami. I think they win the son of a bitch outright. The Gators are going to control the swamp. Miami's got too many new pieces and new places, and it's not 1990s anymore. It's not. I'm a Nebraska fan. I can tell you for sure it's not It's not the 1990s anymore. I can tell you that for sure. So give me Florida at home. All right, Reese, give us the Dawgs Dog.
Sparks wasn't alive in the 90s.
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
The
Aren't you,
late 90s.
aren't you 2000?
99, baby.
All right, good for you. Hey, you still made it.
99.
Well, Dawgs Dog, I got to do it because I think this team's still going to win this ball game. But I'm going to take Notre Dame plus the 3. Going on the road at College Station. I really like them in this spot. We mentioned them all before, but just give me Ryan Leonard in this offense. I think they're going to be just fine going down there.
All right, Jake, close us out with your Dawgs Dog of the week. Give us a good underdog. Who's going to win me some money?
Yeah, you might as well want to win money like Friday so you have more money to play on Saturday, right?
Don't say Oklahoma Temple.
No. Oh, God.
No. That'd be a
no.
easy play.
Where do you go to take 43 points with Temple? Play the Fight Dog college football.
You could just take Hawaii minus the 38.5. So if it's going to be anywhere, it's going to be here.
That's true. But no, I'm going to go out to California. Give me Palo Alto. I like Stanford plus 9.5. TCU coming to town Friday night. Weird game. I've said it on this show before in our Big 12 previews and things like that. I don't think TCU is any good. Their defense was bad last year, and I want Daniels, the quarterback for Stanford, and Io Manor, one of a probably top 10, top 5 receiver in college football. I think they could have some success throwing the ball on Friday night and keeping this game close. I see this like even TCU 31, Stanford 23.
TCU 31, Stanford 23. I like that. So you don't think they're going to potentially win the game just to cover?
Yeah, I
want the 1 point, not 2 points.
Listen, as your dad, as your champion, I would choose a team that you think is going to win the game out.
Yeah, that's a good point. Winning's worth more points than just cover.
Although he did call New Mexico last week, I will give him that. That was a great dog. Too bad we weren't started yet. Doesn't count.
Gave you New Mexico. Are we doing points different this year? If you win it outright, you're not just getting 3 points. I think we should do it like College Game Day, where if you win it
like 2 points,
you get the entire spread. So I get 9 points if Stanford wins the game outright.
I like how you made that rule to fit the pick this week.
Yeah,
well, just hypothetically speaking, and it's
we should have discussed this before the live show, so we got to.
I'm asking. I didn't say that's the rules.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that idea.
We'll let JP decide. We'll let the rule master decide, and then he will go with it because
should we give JP an honorable mention for his pick? Because I feel like there's a fun one we could give him that we would all agree on.
He texted me.
He texted you. I have one.
Yeah, he texted me it. He said he took Illinois State plus the. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Jordan.
No, I got one for him. I want to give him one. Let's go Vanderbilt plus 13.5. Saturday afternoon, Virginia Tech comes to town. Another team. They want to just talk about all the production that's coming back with Virginia Tech. This was a team who started off slow last year. Let's do it again. Why can't Diego Pavia, create a little havoc? New Vanderbilt squad. Maybe just being pesky. You almost
do they have a scoreboard now?
Yeah.
Do they have a scoreboard now, or is it hanging out there by a thread? I don't know if JP's going to accept that. That's pending. That's pending.
The one I was going to give was one we just talked about. This team that might win. How about Wyoming? Plus the 6.5.
He loves Wyoming.
I feel like he would like that one.
He likes anything with the word cowboy in it, so he'd probably be on the back of that. I think West Virginia he would be interested in as well. So, all right, JP, we'll get his pick out there when we get a graphic out of the Dawgs Dog of this week. That is everything. That is our entire week 1 preview from start to finish. We went in depth with 6 games, gave you our Dawgs Dog, our pick of the week. And then we will also recap these games at the start of next week when we preview week 2, which is absolutely loaded. I'm already psyched for it. So we will see you next week. But as a reminder, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, shop No Rivals, use the code PTFS at checkout for free shipping on any hat you like on there, or for your full order if you like multiple. Go ahead and do that. Shout out No Rivals. They're great partners. Reese, what should they do to this video and our channels in general?
Like, comment, subscribe, hit that follow button. Doesn't hurt.
Jake, take us away.
We're so back, boys. So we better play it.